You can start now.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to GSMA's virtual seminar on maximizing metaverse opportunities. This is the first joint open virtual seminar by GSMA APAC's APAC Policy Group and Digital Transformation Acceleration Forum communities. Now, as you may have heard many times, the metaverse, there's a lot of activity. There has been, and there's a lot of activity, genuine excitement, and to an extent, hype in the industry about the metaverse and potential opportunities. First, early movers, ecosystem players and pioneering MNOs alike, strategically developing and launching their metaverse propositions to ensure early leadership. However, for the metaverse to grow and thrive alongside the physical world, collaboration between ecosystem players, OTTs, MNOs, and governments across sectors will be critical to drive further economy-wide digital transformation. Now, for this seminar, pioneering MNOs, ecosystem players, and governments have been invited to share their experiences and plans about opportunities in the metaverse, minus the hype, and to discuss the importance of ecosystem collaboration in scaling the metaverse. Today's open virtual seminar is the first of a series of seminars on the metaverse, both online and offline, scheduled for this year. But to those of you wanting to take part in these upcoming activities, physical activities, including physical activities, and to introduce and share your innovative and unique service propositions as startups and ecosystem players, you can do so as an industry partner of GSMA's Digital Transformation Acceleration Forum. This seminar will begin with a presentation from GSMA Intelligence, sharing the key findings from GSMA report, exploring the metaverse and the digital future, which was published in February this year, along with information on the latest developments to set the background. It will then be followed by presentations from Seoul Metropolitan Government on its Metaverse Seoul and by KDDI on its latest metaverse activities. These two presentations will then be followed by a MNO panel to discuss the role of MNOs in the metaverse and different paths operators like MTN, KT, and NTT Docomo are taking to really maximize opportunities and stay relevant in the metaverse. For the ecosystem session, NVIDIA will present on digital twins, virtual worlds, and its omniverse proposition, followed by a panel discussion on the importance of ecosystem collaboration and how MNOs can better accommodate and collaborate with fast-growing ecosystem players and innovative startups. Now, really, before I start, I would like to invite GSMA's head of APAC, Julian Gorman, to welcome you to this Maximizing Metaverse Opportunities virtual seminar. Julian, over to you.
Thanks, Johnny. Good afternoon, and on behalf of GSMA APAC, I'd like to welcome you to this webinar. I've now been in the telco industry for over 20 years, and my father worked for Telstra for all his life, so I sort of consider telcos in my blood. But I'd like to think that I have a good awareness of what's happening in the industry cycles and everything else. But a bit like what Johnny was saying before, I've never seen the excitement, the interest, and awareness about a communications technology concept spread across the globe to dinner conversations, water cooler debates, and mainstream media faster than the metaverse, or as I think maybe better described, the omniverse. In less than 12 months, diverse attempts to articulate the benefits of 5G, AR, VR, crypto, decentralized finance, NFTs have coalesced into a vision, or actually multiple visions, and platforms that will change our lives and how we interact with each other and with the internet and with the world around us. So why is that important? Well, firstly, it has immediately improved an understanding of the potential of 5G, AR and VR, etc. It's given us some common language. We now sort of can talk about the same things, even though that's not always the same thing. And it's expanded interest across the board. But there's also helped us recognize as a mobile industry that this is a new era where our global diversity could benefit from increased industry debate, knowledge sharing, and technology alignment. So some of you joined us in Barcelona, where we launched our Exploring the Metaverse and our Digital Future report. And we hosted a symposium jointly between the CEO APAC CEOs and the APAC policy group. And those who attended know it was standing room only. The debate was very vibrant, it was very energetic. And I think we can all agree that when everyone left, they left wanting more debate, more knowledge, more sharing and more collaboration. And so at GSMA APAC last year, we decided to embark on this journey to help support our members and the ecosystem collaborate and deliver an omniverse integral to a sustainable and inclusive future digital nations. I invite you to join us beyond the webinar, as Johnny did before, on this journey, and as we work together to advance opportunities for all in the omniverse. And finally, in closing, I'd like to thank our stellar lineup of speakers from taking the time to share their perspective. Special thanks to Nitin Mahajan and the team at Accenture for their ongoing support. Paul Kutzinger, who's joining us from a very late California. Thanks for joining us. And for all the rest of the speakers, thank you for taking the time. So please enjoy, please engage, ask questions, participate. And back to you, Johnny.
Thank you, Julian. Fantastic. Now, just before we begin, there will be 2 online polls during the seminar, so please make sure to participate in these polls to make this seminar a lot more interesting. The first poll should be on now, and the second poll will be held after the first presentation by my colleague Radhika from GSMA Intelligence. Now, I invite my colleague Radhika Gupta to present on the key findings from the GSMA's report, exploring the metaverse and the digital future. Radhika is the head of data acquisition at GSMA Intelligence. Radhika, over to you. You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Always the technical challenges with webinar. Thank you, Julian, and thank you everyone for joining in. As Johnny said, I am the head of data acquisition at GSMA Intelligence. And today, as we are talking about Metaverse, I will be sharing some of the key findings from one of the GSMA Intelligence comprehensive report that we did on Metaverse earlier this year. I'll quickly share my screen. Johnny, if you can just confirm with a thumbs up, if you can see my screen and other panelists can also see. Perfect. Thank you, Johnny. So obviously, Metaverse is one of the latest hot topic in the industry and one of the recent buzzword. We have seen a lot of developments around Metaverse in the last 1 year. And some of the biggest developments are listed on this slide. This is not the list of exhaustive developments, but as I said, some of the biggest ones, to the extent of Facebook rebranding itself to Meta, Microsoft shelling out a whopping $69 billion to acquire Activision Blizzard, and launch of various metaverse platforms like XR World by KDDI, and the NX Floor Office by Accenture, and so on. XR World by NTT Docomo. I'm sorry, I said KDDI. XR World by NTT Docomo. But what exactly is Metaverse? What does the term mean? There is still a lack of clarity on what people understand Metaverse to be or what Metaverse exactly is. Now there are different definitions floating on what a Metaverse world means. Some people call it as interconnected 3D world, some call it as 3D internet, and some see it as an existence into parallel and physical, into a physical and virtual world parallelly. So a merger of both. Different organizations are defining Metaverse world according to how they vision to produce their products and services in the Metaverse world in future, and so the number of different definitions. What we have done at GSMA Intelligence is, rather than trying to come up with a new definition, we have identified and defined the key elements or principle of any metaverse world, and these principles or element will underpin the creation of any metaverse world in the future. The first one is the decentralized nature of any metaverse platform. This simply means that there will not be a central entity controlling the metaverse world, unlike the case today, like all the online platforms are controlled by a central entity. The second one is the interconnected and interoperable nature of the metaverse platforms. Now, this is very important and interesting both. As of today, there are various organizations that are creating their own metaverse platform. But if I have to talk about the metaverse, as you can note in the title of my slide also, I have striked off metaverse and replaced it with the metaverse with a capital M. So if I have to talk about the metaverse, it means all of these individual metaverse worlds will culminate into a one unifying single metaverse world. And for that, this interconnected and interoperable nature is very, very important. And that is why we call it the metaverse with a capital M. The third one is the safety and security feature. Like with any online world, there will be safety and security elements in the metaverse world, and the surface of attack will only increase owing to the amount of data that will be handled, the avatars and all those things. So it is important to have this right at the design stage itself. And the last one being metaverse having an economy of its own to thrive. There are two types of economies that are being discussed today or that are seen possible today in the metaverse world. One is obviously the creator economy, wherein there are a lot of opportunities that are being seen for creators, from avatars to graphics to belongings of avatar and so on. And the next one is digital economy, which is the transactional economy of any metaverse world. This is as of today seen in NFTs and cryptos, but as the concept of metaverse will evolve and take form and shape, obviously the digital economy and the transactional economy of metaverse will also evolve. Now, obviously, we have talked about the key elements, and we mentioned that metaverse is one of the buzzword today. It has gotten a lot of attention in last 1 year. But the question that comes to my mind is, why the attention in last 1 year? You talk about a platform like Decentraland, it exists from 2 years. You talk about something like Second Life, it exists from so many years. So why a sudden interest and buzz in last 1 year? Obviously, I partially blame or credit Facebook rebranding to Meta. But why Facebook thought this was the right time to do it? Because today it feels like that the adoption and creation of metaverse is possible. Adoption is possible because of the digital acceleration, the transformation, digital transformation and evolution. COVID-19 has a very big role to play in the acceleration of digital transformation, which has further led to a behavioral and cultural shift among consumers. If I were to ask the audience 2 years ago, how comfortable do you feel with having remote working environments or virtual meetings or virtual office? A lot of us would have nodded what or no. But today this is possible, this is already happening, and we are very much comfortable with it. So we know this is a possibility, this is not a fiction anymore, and this can become reality. Alongside the touted evolution of internet into Web3, which means an open internet, will also support the creation and adoption of metaverse. And then you have now the key enablers in place, which will support the creation of any metaverse world. If I talk about the 5G connectivity, the high speeds, throughputs, and low latency it offers, will support the heaps of data that will be generated in metaverse worlds. Obviously, the 5G technology and beyond. In terms of accessing the metaverse worlds, you have the devices available today in the form of AR, VR, glasses, and other wearables. You talk about the currency. So NFTs and cryptos are taking shape for metaverse currency, and obviously the ownership proofs, avatars, which will be your identity in the metaverse world, and artificial intelligence putting it all together, because for a seamless working of day-to-day life in a metaverse world, artificial intelligence will play a big role. So a combination of presence of enablers and digital evolution means the creation and adoption of metaverse looks possible today. But like with every new opportunity, metaverse also comes with its own set of challenges. Now, there are two types of challenges that we see in any metaverse world as of today: the demand side challenge and the supply side challenge. The supply side challenges are listed on the left side of my slide, and the demand side challenges are listed on the right side of my slide. When I talk about supply side challenges, the key one being interoperability. Obviously, interoperability is the key principle or key element of any metaverse world, but it is one of the key challenge also, because as easy as it sounds, it is not simple to have that interconnectedness and interoperability between different metaverse worlds. It is not easy to seamlessly transition my avatar in its original form from one world to another. and it will require a lot of open standard and interfaces. The second challenge from supply side is the safety and security element, again, which was one of the principal. As I already noted that the surface of attack will only increase in the metaverse world, and new forms of safety and security challenges will appear, like avatar misrepresentation, avatar abuse, avatar harassment. And obviously it needs to be handled at the beginning stage itself to make any metaverse platform safe and secure. Then on the right side, we have the demand challenges listed. So combined together, the education and adoption and digital divide, the demand challenge arises. According to GSMA's latest mobile economy report, we have a digital divide of 3.7 billion people. This means 3.7 billion people are still not connected to the internet. And this combined with the fact that lack of education on why I should be going to the metaverse world, why I should be or any other service in the metaverse. So a digital divide combined with the lack of education can actually lead to a lack of demand in the adoption of metaverse services. And underpinning all of this is any policy or governance challenges that we see today. The ecosystem is only widening with the metaverse platforms or metaverse space. And then there is a question on, or there are discussions on, the policy frameworks or governance frameworks should apply to which players in the metaverse now. If I talk about data, there will be heaps and heaps of data generated in metaverse. So who will have the ownership of data, because it's a decentralized world? So these are the policy and governance challenges that are emerging that we can already see will probably exist for the creation of any metaverse world. Then there is a need for industry promotion. There is a need to have push from industry and government. And I think a very good example here is the Korean government, who are having a blueprint already in place for the development and adoption of metaverse in their country. And obviously the lack of business models at this stage makes metaverse looks like one of the challenging opportunity. Although we have talked about the challenges, but still the fact is that metaverse is forecasted to be $1 billion and $1 trillion opportunity in the next few years. And obviously if it's $1 billion and $1 trillion opportunity, why should not our industry capitalize on it? Why should telcos not capitalize on it? So what are the opportunities that are available for telcos to capitalize in the metaverse game? The very first thing that telcos can capitalize on is their connectivity offerings. Connectivity will underpin any of the opportunity that telcos decide to pursue. So the very first thing they can do is monetize on their existing investments in connectivity, in their 5G connectivity and beyond. So they can expand their existing connectivity offerings and they can enhance their connectivity offerings as well. Then obviously alongside connectivity, they can look to offer infrastructure services like mobile edge computing, cloud, or they can also offer full stack offerings. A good example here is Verizon, who has recently partnered with Meta on for Meta to leverage the edge computing infrastructure of Verizon. The next opportunity that sits with telco is to create AR, VR based experiences for their retail customers or enterprise customers. We saw that Orange demonstrated a VR based experience for a journey into Notre Dame in Paris at MWC 2022. That was a very good example that shows how telcos can look to create AR, VR based experiences. Verizon is again doing a lot in this space already. Then the next one is gaming opportunities that telcos can pursue. I think gaming is already looked upon as one of the entry points in metaverse. Obviously, COVID-19 inducing the acceleration to digital transformation. And as I said, there is a behavioral and cultural shift. Consumers are actually too much into gaming now, irrespective of age, irrespective of demographics. There is a shift from console-based gaming to cloud-based gaming on smartphones now. So gaming is a very big opportunity that telcos can already capitalize either by launching their own offerings or partnering. They can decide their route, obviously. The next one is to go bigger, like some of the APAC operators are already doing, launching their own metaverse world. The XR world from NTT Docomo, Ifland from SK Telecom. Or you can actually go invest route also, like SoftBank has done with the Vision 2 fund. Then there are also opportunities for telco in the digital identity services and AI and analytics based. I mean, I can go on and on this slide, but respecting the time constraints, I think I'll move on to the next one. So now that we have talked about the global opportunities for telcos, let's look at why we believe APAC is rightly positioned and APAC is actually ripe to bank on to capitalize on any metaverse opportunity. APAC is one of the biggest and leading 5G and digital user market. If you look at my first box, I have two percentages mentioned, 10% and 80%. 10% is the 5G penetration rate on mobile connections within the APAC market, which is the second highest globally. Similarly, 80% is the smartphone penetration rate on total mobile connections in the APAC market, which again is the second highest globally. So APAC already has demand side challenges sorted out. You have a 5G base of more than 500 million users. Your population is already digital savvy because 80% of the connections are already using smartphone. So it's all about, sorting any supply side challenges and bank on the opportunity. The second one is the huge gaming market that exists in APAC. As I said, gaming is one of the entry point to any metaverse world. And APAC has already been forecasted to be a 70 billion opportunity in gaming, with a gaming user base already sitting at 1.5 billion plus people. So gaming actually presents a very good opportunity for players in APAC to capitalize on the metaverse opportunities. Third one, we see that APAC telcos have already started to define what metaverse will look like or the metaverse journey. I mean, there are so many metaverse worlds that have already been launched in the APAC. I think the highest number in the world. SK Telecom and Ifland, NTT Docomo and XR World, Asia Pacific Telecom and Xland, KDDI and Shibuya, KT Alpha and KT Metaverse One Team, and there are many more, but because we are already talking about the telcos here, I have listed some of the telco metaverse worlds. And all of this will be further supported by the growing AR/VR demand in APAC. According to IDC data, the AR/VR shipments in last 1 year in APAC already grew at a whopping rate of 60% and further expected to grow at a CAGR of 52%. So all of this combined together only indicates one thing: APAC is rightly positioned, APAC is best positioned, and APAC is already ripe for metaverse. And so what does this mean for us? What are we taking home today after all this discussion? This is how I look at it as. Metaverse is inevitable. We don't know what shape and form metaverse will take because there will be more developments as metaverse will evolve, but this will happen in some shape and form. So it is definitely inevitable. The journey has already begun, driven by tech and society. We already have the key enablers in place. Obviously, there are challenges to overcome on the way, but as I said, it is already forecasted to be $1 trillion opportunity by 2030. So it's not a question of if, it's rather a question of when. And when I say when, we believe that now is the time to start investigating what role do you want to play in this and enter into the metaverse journey. But one very important thing that I want to highlight on this slide is, I will emphasize on this, that the key to thrive and succeed in any metaverse creation and platform for any player is to work together, to work in a collaborative manner. If you want to succeed, you have to shift from a me to we approach. If you continue to work in a me approach, I think you will struggle a lot. So the answer or the success actually lies in the shift from me to we. And now, if you enjoyed this presentation and if you are wondering, metaverse looks like a good opportunity to me, I will be doing something on the metaverse, but how do I keep a tab on the daily metaverse developments? There's so much happening in the metaverse space on a day-to-day basis. So the answer is, if you are already a GSMA Intelligence subscriber, all you have to do is go to the industry update section within the product and services and type metaverse in the search box. And here you will have all the latest developments on metaverse from operators, from vendors, manufacturers, and from hyperscalers. We are keeping our scope limited to these players only because I cannot include each and every small player from the metaverse world. And with that, I come to the end of my presentation. So thank you for being a patient listener and thank you for being a good audience. And if you enjoyed the presentation and want to read the report and all these topics in detail, please download it using this barcode link, using this QR code. And with that, I would like to extend my thank you to everyone. If you have any further metaverse questions or topics or discussions you would like to have, please feel free to reach out to me on the below mentioned email ID.
Great, thanks, Radhika. Thank you very much for an informative presentation. Yeah, it's now that we're running quite over time, so I'd like to actually just before we jump on to the next interesting presentation by the Seoul Metropolitan Government, I would like to bring up the first poll, as we missed conducting the first poll. So we'll be doing the first poll now. So it'll come up on your screens. So if you can actually do your first polls now, we'll share the results of the first poll after the Seoul Metropolitan Government's presentation, and then do the second poll at the same time as well. Okay, so I'll give you about 30 seconds and then start the second presentation with Seoul Metropolitan Government. Okay. All right, so now I'd like to invite Mr. Jong-Soo Park, who is a CIO of Seoul Metropolitan Government, and his presentation will be A New Frontier of Seoul, Metaverse Seoul. I think it'll be a very interesting presentation, so please listen carefully. Mr. Park, over to you.
Hello, I'm from Seoul Metropolitan Government. It's my great pleasure to be presenting about Metaverse Seoul in APAC. Next. Next. 자료 준비 안 돼. 바로 하겠다.
자료 준비 해달라고 제가 자료 공유가 안 된다고. So it seems like there is a problem about the screen sharing. Can everyone see the PPT slides now?
Yes.
Okay, we'll wait. Next page, please.
Yes. Okay, it's working
Yes.
now. Great.
First, the Metaverse has been team here in Korea as the world recognized Metaverse potential and see a future in them. Last March, the presidential election coverage was also held within the Metaverse in real time, illustrating a new communication medium. Next. Let me introduce Metaverse Seoul strategy and plans. Along with the current trend and within our outstanding smart city resources, we decide to develop Seoul's own Metaverse platform called Metaverse Seoul to provide more interactive and immersive services. Next. There are three main concepts of Metaverse Seoul. First, will be a representative communication channel that connects Seoul with its citizens more closely. Second, to become a solution that overcomes the constraint of reality caused by time, space, and language. Thirdly, to be a platform that maximize user experience and satisfaction, providing services that are even more immersive than reality. Next. Seoul will provide Metaverse-based public services in all areas, including the economy, communication, education, urbanization, culture and tourism, and administration. Next. Our roadmap involves a 5-year plan from 2022 to 2026. Next. In the sector of economy, we are currently planning to integrate the current offline version of Seoul FinTech Lab and Invest Seoul into the Metaverse to assist businesses. Companies and startups will be able to showcase their service and solution in the Metaverse, as well as to receive IR and investment consultation. Next. Metaverse Seoul Campus Town will bring together 34 campus towns and provide coaching, promotional, and networking opportunities to hundreds of startups. Metaverse content create a playground as where the education program for digital content and incubation for startup are provided. Next. We will utilize the Metaverse to provide consultation and advice via an avatar to the youth in the areas such as career, studies, and peer relationships. We will develop a digital campus to universities and colleges in Seoul that do not have a physical campus. It will be the first ever Metaverse University. Next. Seoul's main tourist areas, festivals, and exhibitions will be developed in Metaverse Seoul. Next. Important public services such as civic complaint will also be developed with the Metaverse. Consulting services geared to the citizens such as call center, integrated complaint system, real estate regulations, and taxes will be provided. Users can request public certificates via Metaverse Seoul and receive them on their Seoul Wallet app. Next. You are also working on to incorporate XR into the service in the Metaverse Seoul. And we will utilize GSMA with XR to allow the citizens to experience the history of Seoul as well as its cultural restorations. Security rights, CCTV, and other sensors will be integrated with XR for monitoring and increasing the level of safety in the city. Next. Metaverse Seoul Citizen Platform will allow users to create and participate in numerous activities. Users will be able to open exhibitions, have consult, and thus will be a new space for citizens to congregate and collaborate. Seoul's own Metaverse conferencing service will enable customized setting for meeting, conferences, forums, and MOU ceremonies. We envision that a more diverse range of people will be able to participate in city organized events. Next. The Metaverse Smart Work Office will enable city officials to work remotely, making them feel as if they are working in real office. We hope to have an AI-based public servant working in the Metaverse office in close collaboration with others for public services. The Seoul Metropolitan Government will operate Metaverse Seoul in an open and transparent way. We are developing and implementing Metaverse Seoul ethics and behavioral guidelines so that citizens can maintain safe and healthy social activity in the virtual world. Next. This is the Metaverse Mayor's Office. You can access it through a mobile app. This is an exact replica of first floor lobby of the City Hall. At the Mayor's Office, you can see the corner where citizens can submit their suggestions. This is connected to Seoul's internal servers. You can also sit on the mayor's desk. You and can take a photo with the mayor. Next. Next step. I think there are three major effects we expect to see from Metaverse Seoul. First, inclusive services which all Seoul citizens can enjoy without time and space constraints will be provided. Second, immersive public services then enable people for better user experience. Third, Metaverse Seoul will set the standard and be a good example for other governments to follow. Next. In a survey conducted by Seoul Metropolitan Government, smartphones account for high proportion, about 3% of devices to use the Metaverse Seoul. Therefore, I think the Metaverse platform will probably be inseparable from many MNOs who are attending this webinar. I look forward to your general support so that the Metaverse ecosystem can be well established. I level my presentation here. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Park, for a very interesting presentation. There aren't many metropolitan or local governments out there already working on or having developed, the metaverse strategies. It's only beginning, and we hope to see leadership by yourself and other central and local governments to lead the way. Just to let you know, in August we'll be having Mobile 360 Singapore physically on the 2nd and 3rd of August. And if there are, including Seoul Metropolitan Government, if there are any other metropolitan governments that are interested in participating to share their expertise and their experience in their metaverse initiatives and so on, please feel free to reach out, and we will try to accommodate as best we can. Great. Thank you very much again, Mr. Park. Okay. All right. So let's wrap up this presentation and go on to the results of the first poll. And okay, as you can see, okay, so you can see the results from the first poll. Radhika, would you like to just comment on the first poll, please?
No, Johnny. So, I mean, obviously, yes, Johnny. Yeah. The purpose of this poll was just to give a flavor to our audience today as to how much Metaverse has picked up in last 1 year in terms of conversations, in terms of the buzz around it. And obviously, that is one of the reasons we are having this virtual seminar today. We are talking about the topic today. So if you see the answer to question number 1, 92% of the audience today have at least heard the term Metaverse. But if the same set of audience, only 58% of them were aware of it in early 2021. So that explains the momentum and buzz it has picked up in the last 1 year, and that is the reason we are discussing it today and talking about it.
Right, great. Thanks, Radhika. Okay, Christina, can we put up the second poll, please, for people to actually fill out, and we'll actually share the results of the second poll after the next presentation by Koga-san from KDDI. Okay, so please fill them out as as you can, as quickly as you can. Next, as we complete the polls, next I'd like to invite Mr. Masaki Koga from KDDI to share KDDI's latest innovative activities related to the metaverse. Koga-san, I've known Koga-san for the last 7 years. He's an executive director in charge of industry standards at KDDI. Koga-san, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Johnny. Today, I will briefly explain the highlight of KDDI's Metaverse activities. Next page, please. Before COVID, downtowns in Tokyo used to be full of people, especially the Halloween night at Shibuya, a trend-setting hub in Tokyo, was so crowded with young adults who wear special costumes while worrying about encountering traffic accidents and other incidents. Next, please. KDDI launched 5G commercial service in March 2020, just after the COVID outbreak. As people stopped going out, KDDI pondered suitable and attractive content for that time and launched Virtual Shibuya in May 2020 to accelerate the momentum for 5G. Virtual Shibuya has been officially endorsed by Shibuya City local government and supported by many companies which run real business there. The virtual Halloween event was held in October 2020 and gathered more than 400,000 people who enjoyed Halloween without suffering from an annual extreme crowd on the street. Next, please. From this slide, I will explain the fusion between the virtual and the real. Next, please. All the data collected in the physical space are transferred to the cyberspace, where the data are used for analytics, learning, and prediction. And then they are fed back to the physical space. This is the concept of Society 5.0, leading to a better real world. KDDI is accelerating the realization of Society 5.0 by 5G, and also is creating a resilient future society in close cooperation with partner companies. Next, please. As the COVID situation has been gradually easing, and after COVID is approaching, people have started going out. Now, time for fusion of the virtual and the real has come. Virtual City, led by KDDI, is a typical example of this movement. Next, please. This slide shows the expansion of Virtual City. Virtual Shibuya is increasing visitors and has become famous through lots of events. Places with live music were introduced in April 2021. The Halloween festival gathered more than 500,000 people last year. Virtual Shibuya was extended to Harajuku, another trend-setting town in Shibuya Ward, in May 2021. Visitors can move between Harajuku and Shibuya now. Virtual Osaka was officially launched in February 2022, and it delivered the attractiveness of the city. The Osaka local government will host the next expo in 2025. The unique tower in the bottom right picture has been a physical symbol of Osaka since the previous expo in 1970. Next, please. This year is the third year of the virtual baseball stadium, which a professional baseball team and KDDI provide. The audience can enjoy the atmosphere of the stadium in real time with various ways and cheer the players from any places. Baseball has been the most popular sport in Japan. The wave of digital transformation may be hitting the way how to enjoy baseball in full swing. Next, please. From this slide, I will explain technology development for the fusion between the virtual and the real. Next, please. This slide shows killer technologies. VPS stands for Visual Positioning Service. If you point your smartphone in the direction on the screen, virtual data is virtualized based on the location information. 5G MEC is powerful enough for cloud rendering. The bottom right picture is a German virtual human developed in the trial. If the application is rendered by edge servers, the quality can be differentiated. Next, please. Last year, KDDI and KDDI conducted the 5G XR Global MEC First trial under the GSMA tech trial with Starfree, Mawari, and Mobile X. He proved that rich XR content can be shared and optimized between MNOs, which have 5G MEC and the same MEC platform. If you do a Google search, you can find the detail with the demonstration video in the GSMA web page. Then you would be impressed by the performance of the virtual human application. Next, please. This slide shows works to be done for the future. Metaverse will be underpinned by network layer. 5G MEC will be the bread and butter, and end-to-end network slicing is expected to improve the service quality in the future. MNOs should collaboratively work on platform layer with partners. VPS is expected to be mature by adding indoor-outdoor seamless capability. Multiple platforms will be realized through API. API will also bridge between network layer and performance layer. Next, please. Finally, I will briefly explain the virtual city consortium. Next, please. Here is the overview of the virtual city consortium. The virtual city consortium made a guideline for city-linked metaverse in April 2022, based on the experience of virtual Shibuya. City-linked metaverse is a concept including metaverse. Aligning with the stakeholders of a real city, the city is aimed to be expanded by using metaverse, e.g. in the motif of landscape or culture, coupled economical activities between the virtual and the real. KDDI Corporation, Future Design Shibuya, and Mizuho Research and Technology, and the participants and their observers from METI, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, and Shibuya World Local Government. Next, please. This is the last page of my presentation, which shows the main theme of the guideline version 1. It consists of two aspects. One is unique to city-linked metaverse, which is about landscape, such as reproducibility and modification, coupled city function, and coupled economic activities. The link between the real city and the virtual is well considered. The other is a general guideline for metaverse, which includes UGC, user-generated content, copyright, avatar, virtual property, interoperability, and regulation. KDDI is aiming to promote and adapt the guideline so that virtual city provides all the stakeholders including users and platform providers, with safe and secure experiences. I wish KDDI as well as MNOs would play a key role in Metaverse. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Koga-san, for a very insightful presentation. I can see from the previous presentations from, Radhika, presentations from, Seoul Metropolitan Government's Mr. Park, and your presentation, that the key word here is collaboration. Not only collaboration between ecosystem players and operators, but collaboration between governments, collaboration between ministries, collaboration between other companies in different vertical sectors to really work together and to really realize, the metaverse. So, I look forward to seeing what KDDI has done in the next 6 months, because I see a lot of developments happening. So I look forward to inviting you to also present about KDDI's achievements in the CXO summit in Tokyo, Japan in October. Okay, great. Thank you very much for your presentation, Koga-san. Okay, so before we go on to the next panel, I'd like to actually just review the results of poll number 2 that we did prior. And Radhika, would you like to come in and do the interpretation, please?
Yeah, sure. Interesting, because I was waiting to see how the numbers look like, and there is no clear winner. I mean, all of them sit close. Obviously, monetize existing 5G investment comes to be a little clear winner, but there is not a very huge difference in the last 3 and the top 2, 37, 22. And I think this kind of makes sense because telcos have already shelled out a huge sum of money on the 5G networks, either the spectrum side or either the infrastructure side. And we recently did a report at GSMA Intelligence trying to understand how telcos have monetized 5G investments with the consumer offering. And not to our surprise, there's not a lot of monetization that has happened on the consumer side, because it was always argued and discussed that the 5G opportunities will sit in B2B space. So now Metaverse comes as an opportunity where you can actually generate your returns on existing 5G investments. So looks like obviously a clear winner. I'm a little bit disappointed by the gaming results, because I thought that gaming will be another winner, considering a lot is already happening on the gaming platform. Deutsche Telekom launching Beatland on Roblox, and not telcos, but a lot of other players in industry using the gaming platforms to foray into the metaverse, like Gucci buying a plot of land on Sandbox. So if you are not creating your own metaverse world, the existing gaming platforms are actually a very good entry point. So I expected some more votes with gaming, but this is good. This is very good and very insightful. Thank you everyone for your votes.
Thanks for the interpretation, Radhika. Great. All right. So next, I'd like to, we're fighting against time, but I'd like to jump onto the panel discussion for MNOs. And I'd like to invite Mr. Henry Okoide from MTN Group, all the way from Africa, okay, joining us. Mr. Youngsi Kim from KT, and Dr. Mikio Iwamura from NTT Docomo to take part in the MNO panel discussion, which will be moderated by Mr. Shalv Parak from Accenture. So Shalv, over to you.
Thanks, Johnny. So it's great to have everyone here, and I heard a lot of interesting things about what is Metaverse, how are telcos, playing a part in it. And we have heard a lot of tech CEOs talk about Metaverse. Some are calling it the future of internet, some are putting it as video games, or I like to always mention this, that some are calling it the deeply uncomfortable version of Zoom or Teams, where we are in it. So having all this buzz, and we are seeing all our MNO players adopting different metaverse and launching their own metaverse. Accenture recently did a research and report called the Tech Vision, where we interviewed a lot of communications executives, and we found out that 63% of them state that metaverse will have a positive impact on their business. And out of those 63%, 35% think that it will be a breakthrough or transformational impact, which they'll be able to realize in the next 4 years. And having said that, right, Accenture tried to put down its own version of what is metaverse. So we consider it the evolution of the internet, where the user moves beyond just browsing to inhabiting in a persistent shared experience that spans through the spectrum of our real world to a fully virtual world that could be in between. So it could be a virtual reality that extends beyond what we have as of now today. So having said that, we have a stellar panel that has launched their own different metaverse. So if I could invite the panel to share, what are you guys as MNOs that are active in this space doing to position yourself to strategically stay relevant in the metaverse? So if you could start with Mr. Henry, if you could share about what MTN Group is doing and launching their metaverse platform.
Thank you, Chef. At the MTN Group, over recent years, launched its Ambition 2025, which is fundamental to its readiness for digital technology and the demands of the metaverse. All right. One of the key pillars of Ambition 2025 is the deployment of an ultra. Can you hear me? Is the deployment of an ultra low latency and high throughput network, which is one of the underlying requirements for the metaverse. All right. Besides that, we have also procured a strategic resource in the decentralized land, piece of land, if you like, that we intend to develop, that we intend to leverage as a vehicle to create a metaverse experience for the continent. So the whole idea is to use that to lead Africa into the new digital economy and use that to create the enabling stage for the young generation in Africa to begin to imagine what services, what NFTs, what products, what platforms can arise that could lead to this new opportunity we're looking for, which is vital for the continent. Thank you.
Thanks, Henry, Mr. Henry, for sharing. And if you could jump on to Dr. Mikio Iwamura to share about the XR world. I see the XR world being displayed in your background. So can we hear more about it?
Yeah. Hello, my name is Mikio Iwamura. I'm a general manager of XR Innovation Office here at NTT Docomo. The XR Innovation Office was established 1st of October last year to really facilitate business development in the XR and metaverse space. 31st of March, we launched this XR World service, which is our immersive metaverse community platform, where we publish various contents, animates, videos, music, MB promotion videos. We may even perhaps consider doing esports games or maybe even healthcare or education utilizing these platforms. But yeah, so we launched, and yeah, people are enjoying it. People start to make conversations, develop communities. Yeah, yeah, this is really exciting. It's really exciting to see this happening, and this is something that has myriads of opportunities, potentials for both consumer and enterprise business.
Thanks. And having said that, there's opportunity for both consumer and enterprise business. I think it's a perfect timing to call Mr. Kim from KT, whose metaverse platform is catered more towards B2B. So Mr. Kim, if you could share about KT's metaverse platform.
Hi, hello. My name is Young-sik Kim, currently leading DX B2B businesses at KT. Our business portfolio covers various areas of business, including metaverse, energy, environment, security, NFT, and so on. I think Metaverse is a great opportunity for MNOs to launch new services and expand into completely different type of market. The first role of MNO is to provide a stable service environment for Metaverse service providers and end users. In other words, MNOs need to support Metaverse with a robust landline and wireless networks, cloud, security, and authentication infrastructures for service, such as 3D content, video conference, and VR service, and so on. Secondly, MNOs should use these opportunities to expand their existing business portfolio. Currently, KT is focusing on B2B Metaverse market. I don't see any commercially successful application in B2C Metaverse market. And B2C application requires huge initial capital investment. So KT would like to enter the market with sufficient demands. Recently, several B2B opportunities are emerging from the government, universities, and other major entities for applications such as meeting, lectures, events, and seminars. KT is currently focusing on various DX businesses with its AI, big data, cloud capabilities. Such DX expertise may provide synergy for us while expanding our business into Metaverse services. For instance, for educational applications, we are integrating STT, multi-language support, and video conference with our B2B Metaverse solution. For financial applications, KT can provide virtual customer service using its AI, big data, e-document, and security solutions. For MNO, it's extremely important to have a clear market customer group to successfully enter into the Metaverse market. That's why we are focusing on B2B or B2G markets and integrating our existing solutions into KT's Metaverse platform. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Mr. Kim. So we see that we have 3 MNOs here, and all 3 of them have very different approach to launching their own metaverse, and they're defining their own version of a metaverse. So I remember Radhika previously mentioned that there are a gap is the business models that we are lacking. And when I had a chat with Mr. Henry, he mentioned that they have a very interesting business model that they are ideating and thinking about. So Mr. Henry, from a perspective of launching Metaverse in a developing market, what are your thoughts? And if you could share with us, how MTN Group is thinking about launching innovative propositions, service propositions, and business models. Mr. Henry, you're on mute.
Unmute.
Thanks, Joe. An important requirement for the consumer is the wearable and the always-on connectivity to the metaverse. All right. So in a continent like Africa, that is a substantial amount of, money, for you to afford a wearable and to have an always-on connectivity through 5G. So a possible approach to resolving that will be to bundle the wearable and the connectivity together on a lease-to-own basis, where the consumer is able to pay something like a couple of dollars every month to have access to the wearable and to have, always-on connectivity. That way, you can quickly scale. You can quickly scale the growth and the monetization of the 5G network that every telco wants to ensure we achieve through the metaverse. So I think that lease-to-own business model will be something to look at. Otherwise, scaling will be a problem because you don't expect lots of consumers to acquire high-end, headgears, and be able to pay for the connectivity required. Then the next thing to look into will be relevant use cases. All right, and how native and how adapted those use cases are. All right, entertainment is an example. Africa is, Africa loves entertainment, movies, Africa Magic, all of that. So how do you deliver that experience? Okay, how would someone sit at the comfort of their home and see themselves in a movie, see themselves playing a part in a movie, as if the movie is playing out around them? That sort of experience. Okay, so these are some of the use cases that we think that our continent, besides other very important ones like education, and if you look at the enterprise, segment in Africa, one important use case will be remote maintenance. Africa is dependent, as it were, on the rest of the world for technology, advanced technology. So some of these technologies, machinery, require maintenance. You often have challenges with maintenance. You bring in something and there's no one to maintain it. So using AR and using the underlying technologies of the metaverse, you're able to provide remote maintenance for all kinds of platforms, which will unlock value and create the sustainability that Africa is looking for in leveraging the technologies they bring in from out there to support their economy. So that's just an example.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, it is interesting. So every market will have its own challenges and risk, and then they need to adapt how they are launching Metaverse within that market. So having talked about some of the challenges that you have, kind of factored in for the Africa market, maybe I could invite Dr. Iwamura to share about what are the unknowns and the risk that MNOs need to consider, and they need to figure out how to resolve them moving forward.
Right. So, of course, in order to establish this as a viable ecosystem, all the stakeholders, all the ingredients need to be ready. So in that sense, there is this co-innovation risk. Are all ingredients, working in a working state, ready for service? And the other aspect is adoption chain risk. So people are so used to using their smartphones. Are they ready to switch, convert to something like a wearable glassware? And all the ecosystem players, are they ready to switch from the existing business model to something very new? For example, if all the retail shops they convert to the metaverse virtual space, somehow we are taking away some of the businesses from the real physical retail stores. So what are we going to do with the current workforce, labor, and so on? And do we have schemes in place to educate these people to make commerce in the virtual space? So, I mean, all the ecosystem components from the creator, developer, developing tools, the platforms, also the device and the customer, is everything ready for this? And we're at a very early stage of this ecosystem development. We have to find that, I mean, everyone has some good idea what's going to happen in the maybe next 20, 30 years. The end goal is probably clear, but we are still struggling to find the right path to get there. So yeah, we have to see this co-innovation risk and adoption chain risk is in mind when we try to develop a new ecosystem. I think, well, I see that as the most critical risk that we are facing.
Definitely, the whole industry has to come together and help each other out. And as GSMA has put it, we need to come up and create the metaverse, which has all the different metaverse that is like, owned by each individual MNO. So last but not the least, if I could invite Mr. Kim to share, like, what does the industry need to do and to come together to, make metaverse a success for MNOs. So Mr. Kim, over to you.
I think Metaverse is a field that cannot be realized and expanded through the effort of a sole company. Yeah. I think CP&D is very important in Metaverse. Content that will be used in the world, platform that is distinctive, a network with high capacity and ultra low latency transmission, and reliable devices. Maybe as you know, in the past, IPTV brought the participation of various CP&D players. Metaverse is also believed to be similar to IPTV, developing an ecosystem with various players. In Korea, the government led the foundation of Metaverse Alliance that supports the service development of various industries, such as manufacturing, medical, public, convention, and so on. Recently, among CP&D players, KT is collaborating to develop various business opportunities with the content and platform players. Especially, we are working with the players from the field of immersive media, like XR and VR. For the platform sector, our basic target is to co-develop metaverse-related solutions with many IT companies and adopt them to our platform. Eventually, all CP&D players should all work together in the metaverse market, co-develop business models, and strengthen the infrastructure which will enable the growth of the whole metaverse market. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. So definitely everyone in the industry has to come together. There are a lot of risks that we need to identify early and build that out in our strategy when we are adopting metaverse. And everyone is going to come up with their own version of metaverse, and we have to see how do we all bring this together and make them interoperable. So with that, I would like to thank our panelists for your time and look forward to seeing many more of this metaverse come to life, and hoping to meet you all in the metaverse really soon. Thank you. Over to you, Johnny.
Thank you, Shelf. Thanks for your great moderation. And thank you very much again to Henry, Young-sik, and Mikio. As I mentioned before, this is one of the first events in relation to Metaverse. And we would love to see how you guys have actually progressed maybe 6 months down the track and share your experience and maybe reach out to the audience here for future collaboration beyond borders. I think that'd be great. Okay. Thank you very much once again for your participation. Great. Now I'll move on to the next session. Now we move on from MNOs. Okay. We've heard from these three very different approaches to the metaverse from three MNOs. Now we'll look at the ecosystem sector. And so this time for this session, I'd like to invite Paul Kutzinger, who's a part of a very big ecosystem player, NVIDIA, to share its vision to enabling the metaverse through its Omniverse proposition. Now, Paul Kutzinger is a director of Omniverse Exchange at NVIDIA, where he's focused on tooling for real-time, true-to-reality simulation, and so forth. So, Paul, over to you.
Hi, thank you. This is great. Appreciate it. So I'm Paul with the Omniverse team. We believe that there are going to be many shared worlds. In fact, like the universe describes the physical real worlds, the metaverse can describe these virtual worlds. And there will be a wide range of them. There will be ones that are about autonomous driving cars, ones that are about factories, ones that are about movies, others that are about architecture and buildings, designs, robotics, games, the whole gambit of these different kinds of experiences that you might have in an immersive virtual world. Now, one of the key characteristics of one of these virtual worlds is the way you build it. And this is in this screen, you're going to see 4 different apps. The app here in the center on the right is Omniverse. And over here we have Unreal Engine and Adobe Substance and Autodesk Maya. And you can see that there's experts using each of these apps. And in real time, you're watching the collaboration come through in Omniverse. So the point is, I can be using Adobe Substance and working on my expertise around substances, and that's getting fed into the system. Or I could be working in Maya with my expertise on modeling and getting in this case, the bar, stool, table right, and it would show up all together. So this allows for people to be creative in a whole new way from around the world. This ability enables a range of new experiences in a variety of industries. So first one, there's the design and creative economy. This growth of metaverse is going to cause a whole new wave of artists. And we think the creative market here is around 40 million people across 18 billion in industries. The next one is industrial supply chain. There are millions and millions of factories today, 10 million factories alone. And in addition to that, you have the warehouses, distribution centers, and within those, there's robots. And 3 million robots operating around now. You can imagine that over time, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. The other part is about autonomous machines. If you think about it, like everything that moves will be autonomous. Cars, trucks, robo-taxis, forklifts, cranes, all these things are going to need to be autonomous. And to build those, to train those, to operate those, you will need simulated worlds that you can run through a wide range of scenarios to train them, or that you can be watching what's happening and measuring how all the sensors are perceiving the environment and so forth. The other new one is customer engagement. With 25 million retail stores around the world, or fast food stores, you can imagine point of sale being completely different with avatars that have interactive AI conversational experiences. And all of these will be augmented with some sort of character to interact with you and invite you into the experience. And you can sort of see that why a lot of this is coming together today. A big part of that backbone is connectivity. In a world where the internet was about text and pictures, you had lower bandwidth, but smaller payloads, right? When audio and video really came in strong, we also needed better bandwidth. Now we're in this 5G space. It's really going to allow you to bring this more spatial internet and this collection of these kinds of virtual worlds that include not only more data to represent the world itself, but also more data around the sensors, the data stores that are happening, that are relaying it together, the connections between the people that are in it. All of that's going to be significantly higher scale. So Omniverse is a platform, and it's built to help creators make their own virtual worlds so they can build their own part of the metaverse. And Omniverse has a few things that it exposes to you. There's some core pieces around rendering to make just really visually rich, full fidelity videos. There's stuff around physics to make the worlds physically realistic. And then on top of the base platform, there's things like Drive. Drive is where you can have virtual simulated cities or locations where cars can drive around. Or there's Isaac. Isaac is where you can have factory floors and you have robots that are moving around through the factories and being trained up on this data, or people are controlling them. Avatars. So anywhere you have people interacting with these spaces or interacting with AIs or interacting with your services, you can have an avatar that will help you bring that information into the space. And then we're doing some stuff that's just really, really big. We're looking to do a virtual twin of the Earth, and it's meant to be a virtual twin of everything needed to manage and to understand climate change. And so the complexity of the system is just incredibly high, looking to build like really large digital twins. Let me give you a couple fairly specific examples. This is a virtual view. You're not seeing a camera shot here. This is a digital version of a factory from BMW. And you can see here they're doing that collaboration across 3 applications. Here's another place where they're capturing point cloud data, and then you convert that into these scenes. These scenes include robots moving around, people. You're thinking through the ergonomics of the factory line. Here's a case where you have one person that's in a motion capture, and they're practicing how they're going to take a part off of a shelf and put it onto the car. And there's another person that's saying, oh, well, maybe I need to change the environment a little bit for you. So this person wants to place an item in a certain location. So another person will bring in a cart, make sure it's the right size, height for the parts that are necessary. And they together can collaboratively plan how this workflow is going to go. So, and these cars are the full CAD rendering of the car with all the way down to the bolt, right? So these are the actual full things. And you can see there's just piles and piles of these cars in this scene. Here's another example. I'm going to play the audio on this one here for you.
Ericsson builds city-scale models that are physically accurate down to the materials of the buildings, vegetation, and foliage. Then, wireless network components are added, including the precise location, height, and antenna pattern of each transmitter. Ericsson built a custom Omniverse extension, enabling them to integrate radio propagation data and leverage Omniverse's RTX accelerated ray tracing to quickly visualize and calculate the quality of the signal at every point in the city. Because Omniverse materials are physically accurate, the intensity of reflections are precisely determined. Antenna beamforming and signal paths can be accurately simulated and visualized. In the simulations, the lobes signify transmitter antenna beamforming, and the straight lines are signal paths. The colors of the signal paths denote strength in decibels and data throughput, from blue is the weakest to red is the strongest. Visualization is a critical capability for Ericsson. With Omniverse VR, network engineers can virtually explore any part of the model, teleporting to any location, anywhere in the world, at 1-to-1 scale. As they tune the network for optimal performance or identify path disruptions, they can literally see the effects of their adjustments in real time, things which aren't visible in real life. In Omniverse, Ericsson can perform true-to-reality remote simulation of entire 5G networks, enabling them to design more efficient and reliable networks, conduct remote field trials, and speed up deployments.
So one of the points I guess I want to make there is we've seen a lot of kinds of virtual worlds in the metaverse today. We've seen cities, we've seen games, we've seen variety of ways to interact with different people inside of your city or with each other. But I also want to make sure that people are thinking about this notion that every product we make has a digital version of it, that it is designed digitally. And everything that is designed digitally also has a robot that makes it. And that robot is designed digitally. And everything that has a robot has an assembly line. And every factory has, and so you can imagine how simulation becomes a really valuable part of optimizing your business operations. Same thing with you just saw with the 5G network, like modeling, how can you optimize these systems? So you can really look at 2 different dimensions. One is ways I can save a lot of money because I can plan for things in a new way that I haven't been able to, or things I couldn't imagine doing before, I can now practice and try in a simulated way and then build it out for real. So we can unlock new kinds of real world plus virtual world scenarios. This is going to really transform a lot of industries in creating these new experiences. And I think 5G is a backbone of all of this, because you can imagine the scale of the data that's being moved around here is pretty large. And then think of Omniverse as a platform for that. So no matter where you're planning to build one of these virtual experiences, these virtual worlds, digital twins, add your corner of the metaverse, Omniverse becomes a place where you have a set of tools that you can use, all of the existing tools you use today across, the Mayas, the substances, the blenders, all the different tools you might use today in collaboration to go build out these kinds of experiences. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you very much for your great presentation, Paul. But I think you cheated there for a moment, because did you take a sneak peek at our first poll?
No, I didn't. What did I get right?
About are you trying to utilize the 5G investment that's been actually invested.
Oh, in the previous poll.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And this is very much in line with that particular poll.
Absolutely, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I mean, not only these different specific industries. Obviously, this can be applied to different consumer sectors and so forth, right? Whatever, right? So NVIDIA, and if you can just explain, do you have any other, for example, examples of working with, say, non-industry background sectors, for example, education?
Yeah. Well, just to pile onto your thing, I think it's important to realize that the metaverse is here. And there are things that you can do today to build it out on these investments that we've all collectively been doing, like 5G or physics or ray tracing or collaboration. Like, all this stuff is there. It will get better and better and better over years, right? Like, we're going to keep improving it. I'll give you another example, like in construction. So one of the things, there's a lot to do in construction. For example, once the building's built, you probably want to go talk to the local zoning authority and say, like, how's this going to look like in the middle of the day with the sun reflecting off the building or the shadow being cast on the rest of the town, right? Or if I knock down a small little strip mall and I put in a large 6-story building, how's that going to affect the power consumption of the city? How's that going to affect the traffic flow in the city or the trash collection? You can simulate those things and you can start to get a feel for how it's going to be. Another one in construction is, a big problem in construction is logistics during the construction. So for example, if you at some point need to move your bulldozers in, and then you've got to dump some stuff and pick up some bars and move them around, the worst thing to happen is that you get into a space where you can't move the truck out because the crane's in the way. And now you've got 2 hours to get the right people there to move all the equipment around. So 2 weeks prior to building the building, you should be mapping out exactly how all of these things are going to move and replaying with it there so that you can just get it right when the day comes. Or another example in retail, you have these huge like hardware stores or huge stores with all of these products on all the shelves. And there's an art and a science called planimetrics, where in retail, they say, if somebody buys one item, are they most likely to buy some other items? And how can we co-locate those in the store? And so you can use data from your sales systems and all that, and plug those into a virtual visualization of your store. And then you can say, what if, and you can like rearrange all the objects in your store and get a more efficient sales through, and you can try it and see what happens. So I think there's a lot of scenarios. And if you start thinking about, like, boy, if I could simulate this and I could do a dozen runs or 100 runs or 1,000,000 runs with a wide range of different ideas, could I be more efficient, and could I find thousands or millions of dollars to save through this experience, right?
Yeah. No, that's great. I think metropolitan governments like Seoul Metropolitan Government, Tokyo, whatever, these governments, and of course the mobile network operators that enable this, okay, will find it very, very relevant and a potential new business model for them all. Yeah, fantastic.
I think so too. I think we're going to see some startups that are catered to serving the small municipalities, and they're going to have like digital city in a box. right?
Yeah.
And it's going to have some connection to your local data. It's going to have some basic planning stuff. And then the bigger cities will make more custom experiences. But like, wow, that would be really cool. It's a real good opportunity for folks. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Paul. Great,
Thank you.
fantastic. Okay, finally, I'd like to invite, we're going to the final panel discussion, ecosystem panel discussion. I'd like to invite Robin Sho Moser from iCandy Labs, Minu Kim from Hoodoo Labs, and Johan Lee from the Sandbox for the ecosystem panel session. And this interesting session will be moderated by Shay Silibka from Accenture. Shay is Director in Accenture's Communications, Media and Technology Group in Southeast Asia. So Shay, over to you.
Okay, hi Johnny, can you hear me? Everything
Yes.
coming across? Okay, great. Great to be here and great to have my esteemed panelists to join the session. So I think you gave a little bit of background about myself, part of Accenture's CMT practice team, bringing all things Accenture to our clients, focused for me at least in Southeast Asia and the telcos in the region. So just some of, I guess, kind of thoughts in talking to the MNOs here in Southeast Asia, at least, on this metaverse topic. And I think it kind of matches up with the poll, the poll number one about, this is a really new kind of hot topic, and a lot of them are still kind of just getting their head around, their initial thinking of, okay, where do we want to be, and what, how do we want to play in this new, new world? But definitely, they want to be where their customers are. So if customers are going there, that's a place that they want to go. But that said, they're trying to get a handle on, okay, really, what's in it for me, and how do I position? So what are the right use cases that are really going to be relevant and that are practical, scalable, and then actually also have a willingness to pay, right? I mean, really how to also monetize it. So, with that backdrop, also the consideration is in their mind is, how do I make sure that I don't do anything that's going to also then kind of damage my reputation or my brand? So all those things are in their mind, and they're really still trying to get, kind of a handle on where they want to play in this space. So it's interesting also to hear about some of the pioneers here that have actually already embarked on the journey and some of the experiences. So I think, we've heard a lot about kind of the what and the possibilities and the opportunities and even some examples, right? But now I think we want to, in this kind of session, is really kind of focus a bit more on maybe the how, especially on the topic about collaboration, right? And how collaboration is really going to be one of the key enablers to make it successful. And that kind of that mindset, that shift from, I think it was mentioned, from me to we. So I think, with my panelists, I really like to understand a bit, on this collaboration angle and their thoughts and perspectives on really how to make it work, for this ecosystem. So maybe we'll go around, quickly and have each panelist introduce themselves and give a bit of perspective about what they're doing, on this topic, and what are some of the potential opportunities that they see and benefits in the metaverse. And I think maybe we'll start with Robin.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to present today. My name is Robin. I'm the CEO and a co-founder of iCandy Lab, and we've been around for 5 years. And what we do is essentially we're building the video streaming solution for the metaverse. So we started 4.5 years ago using mobile AR and using that as a portal into augmenting video streams, live broadcasted TV, for example. So we have developed a proprietary technology with patents around it, and where we're able to use a camera input and detect any screen in the room to then extract information about the content that is being shown and then deliver an AR content pipeline that is in sync with what you're watching. In the last year, we have kind of expanded from there to also offer this for streaming solutions like Android TV, Google TV, Apple TV, to create new worlds where you can really interact and create a bi-directional relationship between the two biggest screens in your home, the TV being one, and then an augmented reality layer around it. And as we've seen over the last couple of months and weeks, there's a lot of momentum right now in the head-worn devices space. So that's why last year we started to port our experiences to this new form factor, because as you can imagine, people are not gonna hold up their phones for an extended period of time unless it really provides them value. So having that on a head-worn device is an entirely different user experience. And as you can see, we've always taken like newest technology and thought about how can we use it to make the streaming experience or the video watching experience more inclusive, more engaging. And this is what we do as iCandy Lab. And yeah, now we're entering actually the next stage, which is involving also NFTs. So we can really bridge this kind of ecosystem to the Web3.
Okay, thanks, Robin. That's really great background. Let me hand it over to Min Woo. Can you share a bit about what you've been doing in the metaverse space and where you see the kind of opportunities and involvement?
Yeah, thank you, Johnny, for inviting me, having me here today. And then I'm the CEO and the founder of Hodu Labs, an edutech company based in Seoul, Korea. And what differentiates us from other metaverse players would be three keywords. The three keywords would be we are game and kids and education. So we use the gamified metaverse word to engage kids into education. So South Korea has been well known for high gamification technology for a long time. So we adopted the MMORPG the game technology into actually language education. And then we are also using the voice recognition engine specialized for kids' voice so that more the younger age of users can freely come to our metaverse world without worrying about their keyboard typing skills. So currently we have developed three different language training metaverse games so that kids can come into the world and connecting with real friends as well as the game characters. And then they are using our voice recognition engine to communicate with each other in English. So, living in the non-English speaking country, it's very difficult for us to having opportunity communicating in real English outside the classroom. But our virtual, the metaverse world, allow them to communicate with the other peers and the game character using English. So when it comes to the metaverse, many people come with a very fascinating or attractive metaverse ideas. But if there is no traffic, the metaverse will be useless. But we found it out that the game actually can be a very attractive anchor for, especially for young learners, to come and spend more time on our platform. So comparing to our the competitive services, our kids spend 5 times more time than other educational services. So for example, if they are to spend the 15 to 18 minutes on average on other English education digital platforms, but they spend 55 to 65 minutes for each login in our service, I think that's a power of game. And many people are thinking that game can be a very important piece for metaverse. That's because I think game has a power to attract the traffic and keep them there so that they can generate more data, which can be used for the expansion for other metaverse services. So we'll keep focusing on developing better technology to serve kids around the world so that they can come into our metaverse and expand their horizon and learn more and grow into the lifetime learners. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Min Woo. I appreciate that. Now go to Johan. Love to hear what you've been doing in Metaverse.
Yes, hello everyone. Great to be with you today. I am Korea Director for the Sandbox. And I was actually very pleased that in the very first presentation, she actually mentioned the Sandbox in one of her slides as one of the examples of Metaverse. And I think that that itself already shows that how far the Sandbox came so far in the industry for the last 3 years. And I believe that, the whole hype and buzz around Metaverse was not a coincidence. For last 3 years, there has been numerous projects putting a lot of hard work to come to where we are right now. So I really believe that really it was an accumulation of efforts of projects working hard, building, no matter what the market situation is. And Sandbox is, in a nutshell, is a gaming metaverse where players can build, own, and share their gaming experiences in the powered by the blockchain. Essentially, we are user-generated content because we believe that the very essence of Metaverse is not about a centralized service providing what users to play, but we believe the Metaverse itself is an open world where users create what they want to play and what they want to see in the Metaverse. And I think that is the also very essence of Snow Crash, written by Neil Stephenson. Everyone mentions about Snow Crash and Neil Stephenson. The essence of that, science fiction novel is a main character who is a kind of a street cleaner. Is actually a super genius hacker in the Metaverse world, and people who are and it is users, participants who are actually building the streets and the world in the Metaverse. And we think that it's very essential for users to create, to make this circular economy and interaction so that users can freely build whatever they can, but also being able to fully own all the contents that they create through the use of NFT. So the Sandbox is, in a way, user-generated content meets NFT. So in such way, we empower creators. We make them, it's not the service provider that owns all the contents, but we let creators to own the contents that they create or purchase, and it is fully in their control, whatever they want to do. And not only we target users, but also we are working closely with various IP brands. And in one of the comments in the chat, they mentioned that Gucci, they are building something in the Sandbox. Very true. It's only one of big IP brands that partnered with us. There are more. Adidas was one of them, and in Korea, major entertainment companies are joining the Sandbox. So we believe that the Sandbox will truly become an open, decentralized playground for anybody who wants to participate and contribute in building the open digital world.
Thanks for that, Johan. Very interesting stuff. So finally, we've kept Paul from the last session. Paul, good to have you on here as well. I think you shared a lot already about some of the potential opportunities and benefits. Some real life examples. Maybe from what you saw from the poll, any of that surprise you in terms of what people were responding in terms of their own perceptions of the opportunities or benefits for this region?
Yeah, I think the thing that not surprised me, I guess most, but like the thing that struck me most throughout this whole set of talks is just how cool and diverse all these different experiences are. Like every one of them, I've got like this really interest, like, hey, I've got some Sandbox land, come on, check it out. Or hey, Minwoo, like I was on Club Penguin at Disney, and like I love the children's virtual worlds. It's so cool. It's just like there's something for everybody. And every day I meet somebody who's doing something and thinking about this. And the underpinnings of it are kind of what your first question was around like collaboration, right? How do you work these things together? And boy, if you think back to HTML internet times, right? It was amazing because before that, it was all apps that were really proprietary. You were stuck in your own thing and it was kind of hard to learn. You'd go read a book or something. And then the internet came, you just like view source and you're seeing what other people are doing. And HTML sort of made this like, it brought it to everybody. More people could be creators and more people could start doing stuff, and designers started to become coders, and it was really cool. And we need that now. We need that for this set of experiences. And I think it's something like USD. So USD is this format that Pixar made. It's called Universal Scene Description. It describes how worlds look and operate. And they did it because they're making these gargantuan huge movies scenes, and they've got tons of people making them, and they need to make them portable across movies, and they've got to make them like workable across time and space. And so now Apple's doing it, Adobe's doing it, Autodesk is doing it, we're doing it. Like there's a whole bunch of people that are starting to transform existing 3D description languages that are proprietary into this like universal scene description. And it's all open. So like if you go into Omniverse and you're building something, you can see the code for how everything is built. It's all these Python scripts, and you can go grab them and make them your own way and do what you want with it. So it's got that vibe of that maker, creator, owner kind of an experience. And that's going to really, I think, lend into this collaboration, creative, explosive growth kind of a thing. In what frankly is a really, it's a daunting kind of thing to think about. It's kind of daunting to look at these beautiful renderings of these amazing scenes and think, how am I ever going to do that? You know, but you can, because there are people who are great at these things that can collaborate together. So I think that to me is what I feel like we're on the precipice of, like, all these are coming together. This is starting to happen. I feel like we're at the HTML1 kind of time. And when we get to HTML5 kind of time, it's going to be like wild, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So let's continue with the aspect of collaboration and the kind of a key ingredient for making this happen. I'd like to go to Robin and get your kind of views on how important is collaboration with MNOs, to actually realize all these potential opportunities that have been mentioned, and the benefits for your own proposition.
Right. So the way I view this is that collaboration is, of course, key. And I think it's a mutual kind of symbiosis, because on one side, we're seeing that, the MNOs are able to really deploy technology. They already have millions, if not billions, of relationships to customers. On the other side, they have, some inertia. It's not that they can just come up with something and build. There are a lot of processes, bureaucracy, even, in the kind of fast moving divisions of those MNOs. So this is, I think, where we as a startup can come in and really have this mutually beneficial collaboration. And, one of the things that was also asked in the chat about, how can MNOs prevent being just like the data pipes, as it also happened sometimes in the past. I believe that right now is a time where everybody needs to act. It doesn't mean that you have to put like huge amount of investment into this, developing your own proprietary stuff, because this is absolutely contradicting the base concept of Web3 and decentralization. So I think it's really about taking seizing the moment and the opportunity to work with companies that enable you to do this. Because in the end, this transition from Web 2.0 to Web 3, this is, at least for me, is the largest transition as a digital society that we have come across, this far. So how are you, and I'm speaking now to the MNOs, like, how are you positioning yourselves instead of just being a bystander and having other big platform players taking this huge opportunity to establish themselves on the market, but rather be part of that and facilitate that transition, because someone is going to do it. And then in worst case, it's someone who's able to act quicker than you are. And this is why also we, with our new offering around NFTs and our what we call watch to earn solution for streaming providers, are really trying to enable them to at least get their foot into the door without, thinking about compliance and all those kind of things. We understand that big organizations need time to adopt, but I think right now is a time to really use the momentum and get a foot into the door.
Okay, thanks for that, Rob. Yeah, it's very interesting. And I kind of want to continue your point about leveraging collaboration to overcome some of the kind of key challenges on transition in this kind of brave new world. So I really wanted to kind of ask, what are some of these potential challenges, technical, commercial, policy, that you're experiencing in the metaverse, or you're seeing, in trying to get things going? And then how do you actually, look to kind of overcome these? Obviously collaboration, but how do you specifically look to overcome some of these challenges. And let me ask Johan about this. What have you been seeing on these challenges, and what have you been doing to help overcome those?
So like challenges that I see here is not really not much on the kind of a regulatory or policies, for instance, because I think time will solve that. I think at the moment, governments, regulatory parties are really looking into all the necessary infras that make metaverse, like for instance, that can be NFT and like digital assets, but they're taking time to really define what it is. And to be honest, like something like NFT is even hard to define because it's just an open tool. It can be really anything in the digital world. So with the currently existing frames, it's hard to define, and they don't know where to include this kind of technology. So for instance, in Korea, they've been trying to include all that into existing financial law, but from the industry, we have been raising voice that because of, like special attributes that it has already, it doesn't make sense. It needs, there has to be special digital asset law, that would kind of, they can differentiate the existing assets from the digital assets, for instance. But I think the challenges here can be, as Radhika also mentioned in her first presentation, that I think we really need to think more. The virus industries has to think more to define what the metaverse is. And I was really happy with the definition that Radhika had. But I personally think that there are two major pillars of what makes the metaverse. It's a social. First, it's social interaction, and secondly, it's an economic interaction. And I think in the market there are so many metaverses that only has social interaction parts and rebranded themselves as the metaverse. Even though they're lacking the economic interaction part, the circular economy within the users, so that users can be incentivized, also, incentivize each other to build a digital society together, for instance. And on the other hand, there are also platforms that lack social interaction part, but only has economic incentive part. That also doesn't make true metaverse. There has to be the perfect balance of social and economic interaction, so that eventually, based on those two pillars, I believe that the culture can be made. And I think I think for not only for MNOs, but for all the industry players, I think it's important to think on the definition of the metaverse, and also from the sandbox's perspective, from the blockchain industry's perspective of the metaverse. We believe that NFT and blockchain, we think that they're essential part of the metaverse. We think that it plays the key infrastructure, because in the digital space, in the existing digital space, no one really owns anything. No one really can monetize anything. They can't capture the value. It has always been the giant platform that just gathers the data and makes the big revenue from it. So in regards to opportunities in the digital space, it has been very asymmetric. So we believe that through NFT, through blockchain, like through NFT, we can give true ownership to the content creators and users, and through blockchain, we think that we can make a truly decentralized platform. And I think as a personnel from the blockchain industry, it's natural for me to really emphasize on this kind of stuff as key building blocks for the metaverse. But because that's how we define metaverse, and because metaverse itself already includes the attributes of openness and decentralization, and without these, we don't believe. It's hard to say that any metaverse without these attributes is a metaverse. So I think it's important for industries also to now look into what are the values and benefits of NFTs and blockchain, for instance, because so far I think it has been kind of belittled as a bubble or just a speculative asset. But I think there are true innovations and values in those.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Johan. Hey, Paul, did you any additional challenges and mitigations that may not have already been covered from your perspective?
I agree with the ones I was hearing. It's pretty interesting. I'll go another route just so we can get another perspective on it. A lot of these entry points that we're used to experiencing with now are from games. Like I came from the game industry, and all that kind of stuff. And games have a certain kind of interaction. When you start to say, I'm going to put 30 sensors into a car and I'm going to have 50 cars in a scene, and there's going to be all sorts of the sun reflecting off of the buildings while the cars are driving around, and the sensors are like visual sensors, proximity sensors, heat sensors, whatever. The complexity of that scene and the communications of the data that's going through there and the processing of that is significantly more complex. So like instead of just building a box in a 3D way, you've got to build a box that has friction. So when the robot picks it up, it uses physics to properly know you can actually lift it or not. The mass of the box should be slightly off center so the robot can figure out how to move it around. The box should be crushable so the robot doesn't over squeeze on it, right? Like there's another level of fidelity that starts to happen with a lot of these twinning situations. And I think the MNOs are in a really good, strong spot to be experts in this communication space. And they have a real opportunity to be a part of this, like it's just enormous. And it's going to take a new wave of creators, because the creators today, they're thinking about like, how do I cull my vertices down enough so that I can get it to run on a low end phone, versus in one of these big, you could choose to run it on a super pod data center with a bunch of GPUs. You want like fidelity, right? And so you're going to need the kinds of creators and designers that build that whole experience out. And so I think there's something there for bringing the expertise of communications in the real world to systems and AI communications in the virtual worlds.
Okay. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, that's quite interesting. And I just want to kind of go further on the, working with MNOs, right? Who's kind of our key attendees for this this session, and get some perspective on what could be done, or what could MNOs do better, when collaborating or partnering with, folks like yourself in this ecosystem, which we really kind of agree, this collaboration is going to be a key ingredient for success, and that shift from the me to we. So I guess, Min Woo, I definitely appreciate your thoughts on that, on what MNOs might be able to do to, collaborate and partner better with all the ecosystem players that are going to be required to be successful.
Okay, so as an entrepreneur who founded a venture company 3.5 years back, recently I have experience working with one of the MNOs in Korea, the partnering together. And then what I learned from the experience is that MNO is a large companies. They are like traditional, like they have been long in the market, and they're very big, like gigantic company in my view. And then the problem is like, we need to accept that the eco players who are trying to do some new things, they are relatively very new players in our world. So, it's very similar that the parents are trying to communicate with their teenage children. So, we need to accept that there is a significant gap already existing between MNOs and the ecosystem, the startup players. So in my experience, the MNO, they love to explore new opportunities and potential with the startups, but even yet they try to communicate with the startups using their own ways. So, for example, like decision-making process. So, I got to talk with one of the director from MNO players, and then we had a great conversation. And then I thought the deal was made right there. But after that, it took me 7 more months to write down the contract and finalizing it. because he said, oh, I need to report to my superior, superior to superior, superior to superior. And finally, I met the CEO of the company, and we shook hands and everything. And after CEO, with my surprise, the CFO approval was following. And so it took a very fairly long time to get the deals done. But normally in startup world, that's very long time. With the 6 months of time, we can't foresee what would happen to the future of my company. Within a 6 months, like we can be bought by a big company, we can get invested, we can go bankrupt. So 6 months is like 6 years for the startups. So MNOs need to understand that when you want to work with the startups, you need to be a little faster. You can communicate in a way that you're communicating with the large companies, with these startups. And the one more thing is that the MNOs, they have a large number of users, so they normally look for some solution which can be which they can use right away to million of their users. So something is mature enough to, and then proven enough to serve their billion users. But the startups are not those kind of companies. Like, we are trying new things and we are taking risks, but we are not yet ready to serve million people or billion users right away. But we need to the help or support from players like MNO, so that we can test our things and prove our concept, so that we can finally grow into a capacity that can be able to serve million users in the world. So when the MNOs see that, we need to something that we can use right away to our metaverse service, then it's the startups cannot be a good partners for them. But if you're interested in communicating with them, with the startups in the early stage, and help them to grow and test their concepts and prove their the hypothesis using your network, your power, your resources, then hopefully at someday you can get some meaningful the outcome from the partnership. So to make a long story short, I think the MNOs needs to be faster and then more open-minded, and they need to understand that there should be a different way of communication and different language to communicate with these new the rising startups.
That sounds like new ways of working, more agile mindset, perhaps, right? So I was just thinking about the timing. How are we doing, Johnny? I know we may be a bit over time now.
Just maybe
one back to you, or
it's if you want to just. I think Robin or Johan, both of these guys were shaking their heads whilst Minu was talking. So maybe one more comment would be fine. Yeah, and then we'll finish off. Yeah, go ahead, Shay. Yeah.
Okay, Robin or Johan, did you have a comment that you wanted to also share about?
It was just like, I can agree with every point that Minwoo just mentioned. I feel like in the telco world, there is somewhat of a misalignment sometimes between innovation and innovative departments that have to get buy-in from business divisions, because the business divisions are, of course, mostly oriented into short-term. How can we bring something at the shortest time to the largest scale, kind of thinking. Whereas, frankly speaking, if we go to an MNO and to tell them what they could do with NFTs in the streaming space for their OTT offering, they would be like, oh God, I'm not sure if we're ready for this. And the average Joe might not have a wallet, and that's totally fine. If you want to reach average Joe, it's probably not the NFT that you want to kind of attract him with, right? Or a metaverse vision. But how do you position yourselves to be ready in 5 or even 10 years from now, when Gen Z is growing up, when they grow in purchasing power, and they want to go to a place where they feel like, oh, this is something I know from my time growing up, because I'm used to gamifying or gamification. And if you don't have that as a service, then I think this is what's going to drive the purchasing decision by that audience. And that's why I think it's really important to be willing to take a leap of faith. If you as an MNO believe in this space, then it's right now really important to make some bets, and not all of them going to work out, but the ones, then you're going to be a front runner in that space. I think this is the kind of key takeaway that I see when talking with those guys.
It's really hard to add to what Binu and Robin said. I think they really said everything that has to be said. But to give another emphasis, I think, when it comes to open metaverse, it's really community driven, and it's really creator-centric platform. So I think there has to be a way for also MNOs to think about how can we empower these creators. So it's not, creators or users are no longer consumers of platforms in the metaverse. They're kind of co-builders. So I think there has to be a good way how we can incentivize them, how can we engage them, how can we make them believe in what we are trying to build. So I think these are some key aspects that has to be considered to really expand into the metaverse industry.
Awesome, thanks for that. Okay, well, I think it's been a very lively discussion. I really appreciate everybody's time for it. I think, definitely actually wrote down a lot of notes here as well from this. So yeah, it's quite insightful for me as well. Thanks for that.
Fantastic. Thanks for the great moderation, Shay, and Paul, Robin, Johan, and Minu. Thank you very much for your insight. And I hope we can stay connected, because we need input and advice from you guys to ensure that our operator members stay awake, okay, and really, play a serious role in creating and driving the metaverse forward. Okay, so once again, thank you very much for your participation. Okay, all right. So I know that we're over time, but yes, just before we finish off. Again, my message, all the operators are our members, and this was about the metaverse. So I think it'd be very important to take into, take these comments from the ecosystem players seriously, and really look into how you can really drive and develop the metaverse business collaboratively going forward. Okay, before we finish off, I'd like to mention that we, as GSMA, GSMA APAC, we actually have the physical, activities in Mobile 360 Singapore on the 2nd and the 3rd of August. We also have for the Digital Transformation Acceleration Forum. We also have on the 17th and 18th of October, the Digital Transformation Leaders CXO Summit, physically being held in Tokyo, Japan. So, please, keep in touch as we will be working on the agenda. If you'd like to get involved in participating as a speaker and so forth, okay, don't hesitate to reach out, because once you become, as I mentioned before, as a member of the Digital Transformation Acceleration Forum, you will have the opportunity to participate as speaker, panelist, and so forth, and participate physically in our future activities. Once again, thank you very much. I know that there was a lot of questions. We will try to answer them as best we can. We'll also have a recording of this session available probably in the next week or so. But once again, thanks again for your participation, and look forward to seeing you again in our next activity. So see you soon. Thank you.